Swamin namaste natalokabandho karunya sindho patitam bhavabdhau mamuddharatmiya kataksha drishtya rizvyati karunya sudhabhivrishtya. Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste, Swamin namaste. Jai Guru, Jai Guru, Jai Guru. So, we are continuing our discussion on some of the early morning talks of Poojya Swamiji after we have our Pushpa Samarpanam, the talks which Poojya Swamiji himself has named as Prabhata Rashmih, the early morning rays. In the last session, I started discussing a talk which Swamiji spoke to us on 3rd July 1997. Today I was thinking that these talks that I am now discussing, which are there in the first volume of Prabhata Rashmih book, actually these were all held in our old building. So I was thinking that in between it will be nice to describe our old building and how we used to sit there and where our satsangs used to take place. As and when situations come, maybe I will go back to those days, many years back, how the ashram was and how whatever was taking place was around spirituality, as it is so even now. Compared to the time when this Prabhata Rashmih, which I am discussing now, 1997, so many years have passed. Buildings have increased, activities have increased, many new people have come. But the basic essence of the ashram is divinity and spirituality. Everything that happens here is an extension of spirituality, and we, the seekers who come here, who stay here in the association, close association of our Guru, we always try to imbibe this knowledge that everywhere there is divinity and spirituality. There is only one divine presence, the Supreme Presence, and every action, interaction, thought, and whatever we do, everything is the extension of that one supreme power, which we call as Brahman, as Atma or Self, or we call it Bhagavan or Ishwar. So this particular one of 3rd July 1997, Swamiji made a very pertinent utterance. He asked everybody whether everybody feels that they are aware that they are seekers first. And Swamiji said, you all are seekers, but one thing I have noticed in almost all seekers is that they lack the awareness of being a seeker. Seeker of what? Not the seeker of material objects or material gains, personal gains, not of the objects which are outside. Seeker of the truth and seeker of one's own identity, real identity, the supreme reality, what it is. who I am, what is this world, who has created this world, what is my connection with the Creator or God, all these questions. And also, if the world of which we are a part, we find that the world is changeful, then what is that changeless entity beneath all this changefulness? So Swamiji said, mostly people do not have the awareness of being a seeker. The emphasis that oneself is a seeker is not there. One must have a very clear evaluation of what is meant by spiritual life and seeking. What is it that you are seeking? What is meant by spiritual pursuit? And he went on to say that in religion, it is the external God that we emphasize upon. But when it is spirituality, the whole focus must shift from outside to inside. In religion, we go to temples, we have our own shrines, idols and images and pictures, and we worship with mantras, with flowers, with nivedyam, chantings and all that. But when we turn to spirituality, we try to find, and that is the seeking, the truth behind all this worship that we are doing. To whom are we worshipping? Who is God whom are we worshipping? What is our relationship with that God? Where is He? And then we turn our glance from outside to inside, and ultimately we understand that God is all-pervading. As He is everywhere, so He is inside us. And He is everywhere, at all times. In everything He is. So you have to purify and integrate your body, mind and intelligence to realize that everything is God or Brahman. Now the question is that, if that is so, why is it that we do not feel it? We feel God only in the temples or in our shrines or in our idols. Normally in our course of activity, we do not find God in whatever we interact with, wherever we go. We don't find godliness in that. Why is it so? So the way that we can have that realization that everywhere God is, that is the truth, will be the method to do is to purify and integrate the body, mind and intelligence. That is, we have to purify the body, mind and intelligence. What is this purity? Our mind must become very calm and restful, so that when we look inside, we are able to see and realize the self within. It is there, that is our real identity. But since the mind always is crisscrossed with thoughts, ripples of lot of thoughts, anxieties, fears, imaginations, and thoughts of the past, imaginations of the future, our mind is always in a disturbed state. So as when in clear water we can see our reflection, but if the water is muddy or if there is disturbance in that water, we give some ripples, motion to the water, we will not be able to see our face clearly. Similarly, when we go within, until the mind is absolutely calm, agitationless, disturbanceless, then only the self which is there will be very clearly visible and realized by us. So, the mind and intelligence have to be very pure. And in purifying the mind and intelligence, we have to remove from our mind our possessiveness, our desires and ego. So that is what Swamiji has been telling in the beginning of this talk. And he says that the fulfillment of the pursuit lies in the realization, in perceiving the one presence and reality in the apparently plural world. And all the austerities that we do in our sadhana, in our pursuit, spiritual pursuit or devotional pursuit, all the austerities that we do, that is only to have this realization, and the disciplines that we undergo, that is also for this purpose. And then Swamiji discussed that we have to be very attentive and selective about whatever inputs are received by our system. That is purifying the mind. What did he say? He said that the mind and intelligence have to be purified and integrated. That is, the disturbances should be minimized. Mind should become very calm. And mind doesn't become calm, we see that the inputs from the outside world, it agitates us, it disturbs us. So the inputs should be such. That is, we should be very careful and attentive and be very selective what kind of input we are allowing into our mind. There are 5 sense organs, and through the sense organs, 5 types of inputs are coming into us. So we have to be very attentive and selective that through all these 5 sense organs, whatever we receive, our mind is not disturbed or agitated. And in this, Swamiji said that he gave an example of taking food. He said that taking food is an essential and common activity for all. To discipline this intake, we first of all select the materials and the way of cooking in order to have a sattvic influence on our body and mind. So, what kind of food are we taking? Are we taking food which are rajasic, so that we are always remaining in a hyper state or very active state, very much excited state? Or are we taking food which are tamasic, so that we are lethargic, lazy, procrastinating? So always for spiritual seekers, it is said that we must have sattvic food. About sattvic food in Bhagavad Gita, it is said what are sattvic food. So Swamiji has not described that here, but he says that to discipline this intake, we first of all select the materials and the way of cooking. Even way of cooking should be very sattvic, not too many spices. It should not be too much hot chilies and all, not too much sour, not too much salt or sugar. So it should be very moderate, pleasing to the system and nourishing to the system. It should not do any harm to our system. It happens when we take food, if the food is not all right, many times the food may be tasty. So we take a lot of it. And then what happens? Either we feel very heavy in the stomach, and then when the stomach becomes heavy, we are not able to think well, do our work well. So that is what is being explained, that we have to be selective and attentive in what we take. Here Swamiji has given only the taking food as an example. He was describing that. And so the way of cooking also should be sattvic. There should be sattvic influence on our body and mind. Moreover, to sublimate and divinize this intake, we chant the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita and some other mantras before taking food. By this discipline, we tune our mind and body to receive only that which will be conducive to our spiritual growth. My dear children, we are actually reading what Swamiji has spoken long back, but he speaks the same thing over and over again. And it is necessary that if things are repeated, because we forget. Now, what is he saying? That there should be even in taking food, we should be very selective and attentive. How we choose the materials, how we cook, so that the food which we have prepared is sattvic in nature and our body is having direct connection with what we eat. So, the sattvic influence of whatever we take in as food will have over the body and mind. Also, in our ashram, what we do? To sublimate and divinize the intake, we chant the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You will find in most of the ashrams, we chant the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. That also has a connection to taking food, how the food is then assimilated in the body. All those are there in 15th chapter. And then some other shlokas and mantras also we chant, so that the whole process becomes divinized. That is, we sit for food. Food is given, served on our plate. We chant the Bhagavad Gita, which is a divine song. And we chant some prayer mantras, trying to do what? Trying to divinize the whole affair of taking food, and then start taking food. Now, why I said that we have to be very, very attentive in this? It is done every day in our ashram, and many of you I know, in your house also you have taken to this discipline. This is a discipline. As soon as food is given, we do not start gulping it. We are supposed to first think that all the things which are there on my plate, we should be grateful to God that we are getting food. He chooses not to give food to many, but He has chosen to give food to us. So we should be grateful. And then what? Whatever we eat, let it be for the growth of the body, mind, intelligence, and the spirituality. Also, we should also think that the whole attention should not be to the taste of the food, quantity of the food eaten. We should be constantly, while taking food also, connect ourselves to that Creator who has actually created my body, the mouth, the tongue, which is taking the food, also the materials which we are eating. We have not grown them. It is some power which is growing them. We may sow the seed. We may have a land, we sow the seed and we grow the plants and we get some crop. But even whatever we are doing, there is a factor. Sometimes we are successful, sometimes we are not successful. Although taking food is an essential and common activity for all, we have to observe a discipline to take food also. And what we take, what materials we use for cooking our food, the process of cooking and process of eating, everything should be sattvic. When we cook in such a manner, the food is rajasic, then our mind also becomes rajasic. There is a direct connection between what we take, what kind of food we take, and our inner growth, our body, mind, intelligence, everything. So, Swamiji is taking the example of taking food while he is describing that our body, mind, intelligence, everything should be purified. And he is saying that we should be very attentive and selective. even in taking food, the materials we choose, the cooking, the manner in which we cook, and what we eat, that sattvic influence should be there. And in the ashram, always we chant the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. In the 15th chapter, there is, the slokas are very much connected to our inner growth and how the food is assimilated, etc. And we also chant some shlokas as prayer. So, my dear children, when we sit for food, you just think how we take food. We do not give attention to anything like this. Mostly, even though we are hungry and we are sitting, say we are having the food served on our plate, what we should do first? We should first think and be grateful to God that He has given us food to eat, which our body needs for survival. The Supreme sometimes chooses not to give food. Many do not have food for both the times. Many remain hungry. So when He has given us food, our mind should immediately be very grateful to the Supreme. And then the mind, instead of thinking all other things, generally the mind will be thinking of family, profession, children, and many other thoughts. Instead of that, our mind should be divinely connected to the Supreme Source, which has created this food. Say the materials that we have used for our cooking, we might have sown the seed and grown the plants and taken the fruits or the vegetables. But are we really able to do it? Sometimes even if we try, we are not successful. So the cause of it is what comes from the 5 elements. Even the plate on which we are taking food, it may be a banana leaf, it may be a steel plate, it may be a paper plate or a ceramic plate, anything it may be. But you go to the cause of each of them, then we will find that everything has come from the Panchabhutas, which we have not created. It's not under our control to create. So, it will be always divine and purifying to have these sattvic thoughts. It may take simply a moment. Initially, we may have to remind ourselves. The tongue, the mouth, through the mouth we are taking the food inside. The tongue is tasting it. The teeth are chewing. And neither the mouth, nor the tongue, nor the teeth I have created. Who has created it? And then when we chew the food and we gulp inside, all the enzymes that come in and react with the food, and it changes it into blood, which flows through the blood vessels. Are we having any control or ownership about these? It's just going on because of the Supreme. My dear children, we don't think. So, we must think this. And to assist us in this thinking, what we do is we chant the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita and some prayers. And ultimately, we do this shloka, Om Brahmarpanam Brahmahavihi Brahmagnau Brahmanahutam Brahmaiva Tena Gantavyam Brahma Karma Samadhina. Now, we are chanting 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. We are chanting few other shlokas. We are chanting this Brahmarpanam. In most of the ashrams it is done. Many of you are doing it at your homes also because you find it divine. When you come here, you find it divine. You miss it at home, so you take it to the home. But mind you, when we are chanting these things, whether it is in the ashram for the ashramites, or when you are at home, you are chanting, Are you really thinking and getting connected to the divine who is inside you, who is everywhere? Are you using your mind and intelligence to go to the truth behind everything? Or it is just a mechanical chanting? Even mechanical chanting, it is like a discipline, it is very good. Those who do not do, compared to them, it is divine, no doubt. But we have to apply our mind and intelligence, and what we chant, we must get immersed in the meaning of what we chant, get immersed in the bhava of what we chant, and then only the whole thing becomes purifying. See, when we are chanting Brahmarpanam Brahmahavi, we must feel that from everything is Brahman. From Brahman only this food is created. And we are only offering it to Brahman. Every work is because of that Brahman. Everything that is surrounding us is Brahman. Like that we must think. So, this is very, very essential. So he says, by the discipline we tune our mind and body to receive only that which will be conducive to our spiritual growth. It will be so. The discipline should not ever become mechanical. And how do we do not allow them to be mechanical? To be very vigilant, to be attentive, to be alert that, oh, is it that I'm chanting but I'm thinking of material things, worldly things? Or am I really trying to be divine while chanting? Now, this he was talking, Swamiji said, our personality is to be disciplined in two respects. He had told earlier, in receiving as well as in expressing, in taking in as well as in giving out. So for taking in, he took the example of taking food. And yes, in the last session, I had told you the incident when I had the blessed opportunity to cook for a sannyasin whom we used to call Maharaj in Kharagpur. And how one day I got that revelation that every day when we cook, we should feel that we are cooking for the Supreme Lord, thinking that He has given me the capability, opportunity, and the blessedness to cook for Him and to offer Him. So if we do that every day, our everyday cooking will become divine. And not only cooking, whatever work we do, if we can think that it is His work, as His instrument I am doing, trying to do it to the best of my ability and efficiency, and remembering Him that because of Him everything is happening, then this sublimity, purity, divinity will simply flood us. This revelation I had. So I think in the last session I stopped there. So I'm now continuing from the further portion of the talk. Swamiji is saying, now the manner in which you express yourself has also to be thoroughly spiritualized. Taking in, he said, taking the example of food. Similarly, it is through the tongue, taste, mouth. Similarly, what we see through the eyes, what we hear through the ear, what we smell through the nose, what we touch, all these things we should be doing in such a manner that it is conducive to our spiritual progress, spiritual growth. Like in Bhagavatam, it says that Vani gunanu kathane shravanau kathayam hastauja karmasu manastava padayornaha. Vani gunanu kathane. When we are talking, we should talk about Him. When we are in a group, we should be discussing what we have read, what we have heard, how we have felt, what horripilation we had. We should be talking that and not so much about family and other things. But if you assess yourself, you will find that most of the time the talk is around family, around health, around what all things you have, or the routines that you have, where you went. All these will be discussed much more than what we can discuss about God or spiritual subject. These discussions should give us joy. That is why in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has told Arjuna, Macchitta madgata pranaha bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. What is that? Macchittaha madgata pranaha. Those who love me dearly, those whose heart and life forces are only directed towards me. They may be in the family. They are doing everything. But for them the greatest love is God. Macchitta madgata pranaha bodhayanta parasparam. So when they find a like-minded person, a devotee or a seeker, they will discuss and tell each other. Kathayantascha mam nityam. They will talk about me in their interactions. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Doing that only they become satisfied, and in this alone they rejoice. And what do worldly people do? They do not understand. They only talk about the outside things. Although those things are adyantavantaha, and they will appear and disappear. No outside object will remain forever. And they are also womb of misery. Still, people are only talking about the outside objects from which they get short-lived pleasure. So, one is taking in this Swamiji has described. You have to be very selective, etc. Another is now the manner in which you express yourself. That is your activities and interactions. It has also to be thoroughly spiritualized. It is not only through the sense organs what you take, those should be divine. I was just telling the shloka, Vani, gunanu, kathane, shravanau, kathaya. So whatever you hear, it should be about spirituality and divinity, about the Lord, about the self. Maybe some slokas which you have read, you have tried to understand, you've tried to assimilate it, and how you relate it to your life. That is very important. You may be saying that, I have by-hearted this sloka. Now I can say this sloka without looking into the book. But that is not enough. You must understand the sloka, understand its message, assimilate the message within, and also see whether you are living that message in your life, day-to-day life. Then only the sloka becomes alive in your everyday life. So that has to be done. Unless you do that, it is only just knowing many slokas, by hearting many slokas. You can say that I know 500 slokas without seeing anything I can say. But that will not help you in your spiritual growth. So, Vani, gunanu, kathane, shravanau, kathayam, hastau cha karmasu. When we work, we should think that we are doing God's work. Say that taking of food, that is an activity that we are doing. We should, as we just now discussed, we should associate ourselves to the cause, that who has created it. Everything that I am enjoying is created not by me. not by me at all. I have nothing to control. I have no ownership. I'm just doing because it has come my way, so I'm doing this activity. Manassava padayornaha. So, and the mind should be always feeling that I am prostrated at those holy feet. That is, whatever we are doing, the background, the mind should be humble and full of reverence, devotion, love, and in pranam to the holy feet. So, these 2 lines I said. So he says that your words and actions. Now, you may be very spiritual, you may be very devotional, you may be knowing many scriptures, you may be knowing many shlokas, you may be reading Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita over and over again every day as a ritual, as a routine, as a discipline. But suppose you are not pleasing in your behavior and your words, then. And that is why in Bhagavad Gita, so many characteristics and qualities are there, where it is said that how should a devotee behave. In Bhagavatam also, how should a jnani behave. The first thing in 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is adveshta sarvabhutanam. So we should not have any kind of dvesha, that is anger, irritation, hatred towards anybody, any creature. But can we say that we do not get angry? Even if we do not express our anger at times, we are angry in the mind. We are irritated in the mind. So, purity has to come to that root, in the root level. The manner in which you express yourself has also to be thoroughly spiritualized. Your words and actions, the way you speak, sit and get up, the way you walk and prostrate, indicate the mental makeup and purity. My dear children, these are very, very important. And who is telling this? A Sadguru is telling the disciples and devotees who are sitting in front of him at his feet after the Pushpa Samarpanam in the hall to hear him, his words of wisdom. And these are the words of wisdom. Always the slokas are not, always the scriptures are not. In the scriptures also, one has to, the Guru, Sadguru explains the scriptures and brings it to the level of your everyday actions. So what is he saying? One has to purify the mind, intelligence. One has to purify whatever you receive from the world through the sensory organs, and also what you express yourself through your speech, how you speak, how you act, how you interact. So he's saying that your words and actions, the way you speak, the way you sit and get up. People are very rough. You will find that when they come and sit in the hall, they'll drag a chair, make lot of noise, and sit down with a thumb. But there are others who will take the chair lightly, place it so that there is no sound, sit down quietly. If called, they will slowly get up and in a very graceful, elegant manner they will walk. And others are always hurrying, burrying. There are people who will shoutingly talk. Their talks are always not at all soft and sweet. But there are people who are soft and sweet. So we have to purify ourselves, even in our actions, simple actions like sitting and getting up. You know, in spiritual sadhana, it says that Shastreshu Guruvakyeshu Shraddha. that Shraddha should be there. For any seeker of truth, few things are necessary. The sadhana chatushtayam. What are those? Nityanitya vastu vivekaha. That is the discrimination between what is real and unreal, what is eternal and what is transitory, what is good and what is bad. Iha mutra phala bhoga viragaha. That is dispassion towards all kinds of enjoyments in this life and in the other life. A lot of allurements are given. You do this yajna, you do this punya karma, then after death you will be enjoying this kind of heaven and all that. Dispassion towards all that. Iha and amutra. Iha means here. Amutra is otherworldly. Phala bhoga viragaha. Whatever you are going to have, enjoyments, viragaha, dispassion for all that. Then shamadamadi shatka sampattihi. What is shatka sampatti? Means 6 kind of qualities. What are those? Shama is restraint of the mind. Dama is restraint of the senses. Then titiksha, forbearance. That is, even whatever situation you are in, without lamentation, without blaming anybody, undergo it. Undergo it. Withstand that. No lamentation, no blaming, no fault finding. We generally, when a situation is bad and not favorable for us, we blame either a person or the time or somebody's fault. We find out that because of that, this happened. Not like that. So titiksha is a very good quality, forbearance, tolerance, and it is to be done without any lamentation or any kind of repentation, nothing like that. Repentance, nothing like that. Titiksha uparati. What is uparati? Uparati is mind will be always going towards the outside objects to get happiness. We feel that we'll get happiness from this, happiness from that. And the sensory organs are always going outside. So they tell us, they show us, have this, it will be good. Have that, you will get joy, delight from there. Though we know that always we do not get delight. We may go after something, but that may not be successful. Then we will be depressed, unhappy, miserable because we were not successful. Suppose we get also, then also we are afraid that suppose it is lost. So always we do not get happiness continuously. Still we go after. Uparati is to constantly be vigilant and take the sense organs away from such alluring elements and take it inside and dwell on the self. Constantly telling the sense organs that go inside. Let the mind go inside. There lies what is eternal. There lies the eternal joy, eternal peace. Then comes Shraddha. Why did I talk about this sadhana chatushtayam? Because I came to Shraddha. Shraddha in Viveka Chudamani and Vedanta it says, Shastreshu Guru Vakyeshu Shraddha. That is, we must have faith in the Shastras, our sacred texts, and also in the words of the Guru. Why? Guru will be only explaining the sacred text, the Shastras. So, he will not be deviating from the text. What the Shastras say, that alone he will be telling, he will be explaining it further, so that you can relate it to your day-to-day life. So one must have faith in the Guru, Guru's words. That is why I came while reading this. What is Swamiji saying? The way you speak, sit and get up, the way you walk and prostrate, indicate the mental makeup and purity. It tells the purity of the mind. how you do it, whether you are elegant, refined, pure, from your expressions, bodily expressions, facial expressions, from everything it will be understood. So Shraddha. Then comes Samadhana. That is, very often you should dip inside yourself and try to have Samadhi. Dwell in the thought of the self and have Samadhi. So these are the 6 qualities. Shama, Dhamma, Titiksha, Uparati, Shraddha, Samadhana. And then the 4th one. We started with Viveka, Vairagya, Shamadhamadi, Shatka Sampatti, and the last one is Mumuksha. That is a burning yearning to purify oneself so that you can get liberated. Means liberated from the shackles of the mind, from the constriction or the limitedness of this existence. Shackles of the mind. The mind is constricted. Mind is always dealing with fear and imaginary things and crisscross thoughts. Getting liberated from all that. Freedom, expansiveness. So these are the sadhana chatushtayam. And this mumuksha is a must. Unless we have mumuksha and we develop mumuksha, that is the yearning and aspiration we should cultivate and let it grow so that you can take to these disciplines. Why should one take to disciplines? Mumuksha, etc. in the text only, our various shastras, it has been defined. There is Tivra Mumuksha, Mandra Mumuksha, Madhyama Mumuksha, Manda Mumuksha. Tivra Mumuksha is who feels that I don't want anything else, I just want to pursue this. I am ready to take to any discipline. I do not want to think of anything else. I am ready. And the Madhyama, the one who is Madhyama, he feels that, yes, sometime I will give for spiritual activities and sometime I will give for my worldly enjoyments. What is the harm? Both can go together. What is the hurry so much? And they will also think that lot of time is there. It is not necessary to be very wholesome right now. So they will be giving their time mostly to the world and little bit to the spiritual disciplines. And the Manda one, they will say, oh, there's no use doing it. Let me only enjoy. Why should I go behind all these disciplines? Whatever I like, I will do. So mumuksha is one thing which is to be grown and cultivated if you want to progress in this path. And for all these things, what we need is attention, alertness, and a love to grow. That is why, Swamiji is saying, that is why we ask you to maintain cleanliness in all daily habits. Cleanliness in all daily habits. I sometimes tell our brahmacharinis, even the workers who are working, nowadays I very rarely go to the kitchen and others are doing the work. But when I go, I feel, the whole place is a temple. Where, as in a temple, we have a feeling of divinity. Whatever puja we offer, we try to give the best in a very pure manner. Suppose there is a puja in the house, how beautifully we'll put up the rangoli, flowers and everything. Try to keep our mind very divine, pleasant, and think of God. That kind of a feeling. Similar feeling we must have in our day-to-day work. In the last session, I gave you an example of cooking. So, everywhere, whether you are in the house or in the ashram, I'm taking example from the ashram because I am in the ashram. Wherever you go, see that things are arranged, see that things are not dirty. So when I go to the kitchen, the brahmachari is working there or the workers working there, I feel that suppose the same person would be given the task of cleaning the prayer room, cleaning the puja vessels, drawing a rangoli, and placing some flowers, how beautifully and with what purity and cleanliness that work will be done. Similar should be done in the kitchen, in the offices, in the Vijnana Bhavan hall where we are assembling. Everybody who comes here, how does one take to spirituality when they come to the Sadguru? You miss it at home. When you come here, as Swamiji says, that everything is an extension of spirituality. Each and everybody who comes, they should be able to understand it. And seeing anything which is unclean, either you clean it yourself or you bring it to somebody's attention who is responsible for getting it cleaned. Keep wherever you are sitting, say in the hall, say there is a reading room, library. Whoever is using it, when you get up, see that the chairs are all in line. See that the books are again arranged. If you see any book torn or without a cover, cover it. This should be, when you try to do this in the ashram, you go back to your homes and you will find that your vision has become subtler now. You will be able to find many things which you can do with a different outlook, with a divine outlook in the house also. That is why it is said that one must come to the Guru Sannidhi. When we do it here, we feel we are doing a seva to Guru. And in the house, when most of you are from the household, whether you have come to the ashram or not, remaining in the household, we must think that, oh God, with your command I have got up in the morning and so much work is there. Every work is yours. So I do it with all purity, divinity, excellence, and with wholesome love, so that you will be pleased. So this is what is necessary. That is why we ask you to maintain cleanliness in all daily habits. And Swamiji says, I always say that your bathroom should be as clean as your puja room. What? It's very, very important. Puja room, because it is puja room, we give more attention. That is, the hours when we do our spiritual or devotional practice, we give more attention. And rest of the time we do not give attention and see what thoughts our mind is taking in and what it is expressing. During our spiritual and devotional pursuit, we are either sitting with a book chanting the slokas, or doing some arati, or lighting a lamp or incense stick. Maybe we are giving some flowers, offering some flowers, drawing and rangoli. In all that, our mind is focused on something divine. But rest of the time also we should be focused to see that our mind is pure. It is not taking in or giving out, expressing impure thoughts, impure speech, impure action. That is why this example Swamiji has taken of a puja room and a bathroom. Many people will not give attention to the bathroom, but will decorate the puja room very well. So every corner of anybody's house should be a puja room. How you will keep the puja room, so you should keep the house. I'm remembering, once we went to see an old lady, Swamiji's devotee. She was staying in a 2-roomed flat, and she offered her pranams to Swamiji, spoke to him, and we were also there listening to the conversation. Then I was noticing that in one corner of the room, there was a table on which is the puja shrine. Then when we got up to come, she was showing us around her small apartment. And I felt this lady quite old. Whether we went to the kitchen or the other room, every corner as if she has worshipped. She has nobody to help her. She stays alone, cleans the whole flat herself. And it's not that everywhere she has put some flowers. But somehow the feeling was that every corner of the house has been worshipped, because it was, I think, a clean and some kind of purity was radiating. I always say that your bathroom should be as clean as your puja room. Is God present only in the puja room? Is God present only in the puja room? He is everywhere. He is in the drain as well as in a vessel of clean water. Everywhere He is. He is in the thorn as well as what is very smooth, very nice plant. He is in the fragrance, which are good fragrance and bad odor. Everywhere He is. The more you spiritualize your behavior and you are attentive to disciplining every facet of your life and activities, the more sublimity you will feel. So, one should be attentive to spiritualize every behavior, and more you become attentive to discipline every facet of your life and activities, the more sublimity you will feel. All of you practice dhyana, meditation. What is this dhyana for? Why do you do this meditation? Don't think that dhyana is always for samadhi or self-absorption. Swamiji is telling us that don't think that dhyana or meditation is only to attain samadhi or self-absorption. Absorption may be one aspect of it. Maybe one aspect of it is when we do meditation and our mind is calm, we get self-absorbed. What about the life before and after absorption? So, if we sit for meditation, maybe we are able to meditate properly, the mind is calm and we get self-absorbed. But we get up. And you will find there are many people who may be having a lot of absorption. But when they get up and their actions and their speeches, their talks are not at all pure. They will be shouting at the family members. They will be getting irritated at everything which goes wrong. So Swamiji is saying, absorption may be one aspect of it. What about the life before and after absorption? That is when you wake up. You wake up from sleep, similarly you have woken up from meditation. So what is the time before and after? How are you at that time? Dhyana is an inward focusing of the mind to understand the defects and deficiencies of our system and thereby to bring about purity. So, when we sit for dhyana, it is not only that we aim for samadhi, no doubt, but it is also a process when, since we are looking into our thoughts, we understand what kind of thought is crossing my mind. Are they pure? Are they impure? Are they agitated thoughts? Are they disturbed thoughts? Are there fearful thoughts? Are there fault-finding thoughts? What kind of thoughts is coming and going in the mind? We must also watch those. So, dhyana is an inward focusing of the mind to understand the defects and deficiencies of our system and thereby to bring about purity. When we come to understand that these are the thoughts circling in our mind, we can work on them, we can purify them, we can remove the undesired thoughts and bring about purity. When you sit closing your eyes, looking into the mind, you will come to know the thought pattern in you. You will understand your mind, discover its various hidden tendencies. So that is why meditation is very important. We give some time to ourselves. We sit for meditation, and when we watch our thought process, we see what kind of thought process is there. Otherwise, we are just in the world. We never look into ourselves to see how we are and what needs improvement. The thoughts will come and stand before you like your own reflection in a mirror. The thoughts, only when we sit down somewhere and start looking inside, the thoughts will come in front of you like your own reflection in a mirror. Suppose we go in front of the mirror, we see our reflection. When we go inside ourselves, we see the thoughts very prominently going like this. And that is why we say that, oh, we could not meditate, too many thoughts. But watch them. And those thoughts which are not good, make a habit of removing them. Understand them first and find out what is causing those thoughts and then remove them. Then only the samadhi is attained, The thoughts come and stand before you like your own reflection in a mirror. If you do not like them, if they are not favorable, then the very discovery of their nature will begin the process of eliminating or sublimating them. See what wonderful. I sometimes when I read this, I feel so very clearly written. But I think sometimes we miss. Even if we read, we miss. What is happening actually? What is Swamiji saying? That when we are sitting with closed eyes, we have sat for meditation, we are actually seeing our thought process. We are looking inside and we are seeing. Just as our face gets reflected when we are in front of a mirror, when we close our eyes, the thought pattern gets reflected. And we understand that various thoughts are going on, crisscrossing the mind. And if you do not like them, we understand. See, we don't want to become angry. We don't want to become intolerant. We don't want to become blameful or critical. So there are many tendencies and traits in us which we don't like ourselves. We don't want to become depressed. If you do not like them, if they are not favorable, then the very discovery of their nature will begin the process of eliminating or sublimating them. So when you understand, oh, these are the thoughts, in my mind. These are all undesirable. Because of these only, my mind is always agitated, disturbed, and not peaceful, not satisfied, not contented, always fearful. So, can I remove them? Can I purify them? Can I sublimate them? Already you have understood, you have admitted that these are there. From there starts the process of elimination. Swamiji always says, if you are able to admit that these are my defects, 50% of the defects or shortcomings have gone. Rest of it is by habit, we have to eliminate them. But one has to be earnest and straightforward in this regard. So one has to be earnest and straightforward in this regard. So this is the process of purifying oneself, but one must be earnest. Shraddha should be there. Straightforwardness should be there. That is, when one finds a shortcoming, a defect, a deficiency in oneself, one must admit it. First, one must admit it to oneself. Suppose you know, but somebody else points it out, you should not be angry with the person. You should be grateful. And you should feel that these should go from my mind. These traits and tendencies I should not have. If I want to progress in spiritual path, I'll have to take away such thoughts which disturb the mind. So one has to be very earnest and straightforward. Arjavam, dridha nischayaha. One dridha nischayaha, one resolve should be there. And arjavam, that is straightforwardness. As you progress in your sadhana, the disciplines become more and more inward and subtle, until at last the mind becomes one with purity. See, the disciplines initially is outside discipline. See, we have the discipline of every day sitting in front of our puja shrine, cleaning it, lighting the lamp, giving some incense sticks, rangoli, flowers, chanting. All these are outside. Slowly, as the disciplines, if you are a spiritual seeker, and you feel that every day I'm doing the same thing again and again, is there something beyond it also? What can I do further so that my fear goes, my unhappiness goes, my anxiety goes? So you start looking within, and then you find your thoughts which disturb you. So as you start purifying yourself, initially the sadhana, the disciplines which were only outside, thinking that these are only the purifying disciplines, those disciplines you take inside and the mind becomes pure. At one time, mind becomes one with the purity. And when will that happen? When the ego is dissolved, when the kartri bhoktri bhava, doership and enjoyership is lost, everything proceeding from the mind will become pure. That is when the ego will go, possessiveness will go, desires will go. What is this ego? Kartri bhoktri bhava. I am this, I can do this, I have done this, I do better, I am praised, I have this qualification, I am very healthy, I am very strong. All these are feeling of I-ness. The I-ness and mindness. Because of the I-ness and mindness, so much of disturbance in the mind come about. I am this, I am a very respectable person. So when you find that somebody has not respected or honored you, there is disturbance in the mind. You feel, I am very good at this work, I have done it, but what praise you thought you will get, you did not get it. So your mind gets disturbed. So there are so many subtle things constantly happening with us, which disturb our mind, our expectations, our desires, these. So when all those we are able to remove slowly, as we remove, so the mind becomes pure. Suddenly one day the mind doesn't become pure. We have to take to this discipline of purifying the mind, just like sweeping a room. Suppose a room is very dusty, so we take a broom and we start sweeping from one end. From one end we are sweeping. As we are sweeping, that side of the room is getting cleaner. And slowly we come to the other end of the room and sweep out the last particle of the dust. It is like that. Slowly. But suppose you want the room to be clean and pure, you are lazy to take the broom. Even if you have taken in the hand, you do not broom it properly with alertness that all the dust you are taking into the broom and sending them off. If that alertness is not there, if that interest and earnestness is not there, then even if you have broomed the room will remain dusty. So is the mind. So it talks about that alertness, yearning, and constantly be vigilant to see whether the mind is getting pure or not. So when ego, possessiveness, kartru, bhoktru, bhava all go, then the mind becomes pure. So today we will stop here, and a little bit of this chapter is left. Next time I'll take it up and then go to another one. I think when I read them and when I am discussing them, I feel so much energized and so much invigorated. I hope there is. Actually, Swamiji has written with lot of openness and clarity. And each is a jewel. It is only that we have to give our mind and understand each line properly and understand that it is a Sadguru's spoken, these are Sadguru's spoken words for the sadhana of the devotees and disciples who would like to tread this path. We are so fortunate that he has spoken so openly, giving us guidance. Sampurnam jagadevanandanavanam sarvepi kalpadrumaah gangam vari samasta vari nivaha punya samasta kriya vacha prakrita samskrita shruti shiro Varanasi Medini Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishti Parabrahmani Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishti Parabrahmani. Jai Guru.